a game. Like honestly, just what a game when you thought that it was over and then it wasn't over and it probably should have been over and then it really wasn't over. And then you have a moment where you think that it's over, but clearly it's not over. And then we get all the way down until the very last play and it's not. Just why you love college football and why, again, you can't always judge a book by its cover, because whether or not you want to admit it, Texas, for the most part, had a good game plan. They executed and they survived a 34-31 scare with Vanderbilt. But they certainly keep their college football playoff hopes alive, and they give you a reason to start believing that this offense has turned the corner. So let's break it all down. Welcome on into the SEC Unfiltered Postgame Show. It's your host, Cole Thompson. Like the video, hit the ring notification. Longhorn country, Commodore country, both of you are still very much locked into the college football playoffs. So make sure you hit the subscribe button as we're on the race to 26,000 subs. Make sure that you download the podcast version of the show, wherever you get your podcast listening systems. Follow us on the socials, link in the description, and check out all of our great work found at secunfiltered.com. And as always, we are proudly brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. Now is the perfect time to sign it up today and go ahead and place a $5 bet. Maybe it's on Vanderbilt's college football playoff odds. Maybe it's on Texas college football playoff odds. Whatever it is, go make sure that you place your bets. FanDuel.com/SECU. Get started today with $300 in bonus bets when you win your first $5 bet. Final score, 34-31. That was not the game plan. If you actually paid attention to this game up until the fourth quarter, it was a trouncing. In fact, I had to come up with 3 different titles for this video because I didn't know how I wanted to explain it. Initially, it was a bludgeoning. What a performance offensively. And going into the series season, if you watch the preview, I said, I don't understand why Texas is favored. And I went back and I started watching a little bit more film, and I started to look at Arch Manning, and I started to look at the passing attack, and I said, well, that part really stands out. Okay, well, now that part really stands out. Okay, well, that part really is good, and you still have a okay. So to the Longhorn Nation faithful out there, I apologize for saying I don't know why you were favored, because there was a reason you were favored. What we saw in the first 3.5 quarters was why you were favored. Just an absolute clinic offensively. And credit to Arch Manning. It's like he hit his head in the middle of the third quarter last week against Mississippi State, and he went back to factory reset. Like 16 had to go underneath the microscope, and they said, all those things that we taught about you in such a prominent light, let's just go ahead and see it on display. Because since that middle of the third quarter of last week's game against Mississippi State, has been on point. He has 5 touchdown passes, if I'm not mistaken, 6 touchdown passes. Let me just look at the number to be safe. Yeah, he has 5 touchdown passes during that span. He also has over 480 passing yards. He also has another, I think, 68 rushing yards. Completion percentage around 81%. Everything that we envisioned with Arch Manning back at week 1, before the season broke, when we decided to claim him as the next big-time threat in college football, it was on display. He delivered a brilliant performance, reading the elements, taking the advantages of what was given to him, and building that confidence and that repertoire to be able to trust his surroundings and make the right reads, constantly putting himself in a position where he just can get the ball out, let it roll off his fingertips, and make plays. 25 of 33 for 328 yards. Nobody's complaining about that. You're not the leading rusher for your team in a day where you run for over 100 yards. Nobody's going to be upset about that. Nobody's going to be upset about your third down completion percentage. Every one thing that you look at was very much in favor of Arch Manning. And this is what you got to go ahead and hold your hat to. It feels like that now, playing with a bit of confidence, now playing with a little bit more gusto. Hell, Texas is in its own element. Ryan Wingo, you had yourself a day. Emmett Mosley had yourself a day. You also got good plays off from Parker Livingston, Jack Andrews, Ryan Niblett. And it brought back to me what was one of the main things that separated this game, I think, from the very jump, and why Texas was able to set the tone. And I think that I don't always buy into, but every once in a while, I got to go back to the well and remember. There's a reason that you are a 5-star. And there's a reason why when we look at roster construction, those sometimes stand on out. You need your 5 stars to make plays today and set the tone early on. Ryan Wingo's a 5-star wide receiver coming out of high school. Ryan Wingo set the tone with a 75-yard strike on the very first play of the game to let everybody know Texas was not messing around. Colin Simmons was a 5-star defensive end coming out of high school. He got a strip sack on Diego Pavia to guarantee that you were walking away with at least 3 points. Arch Manning was a 5-star quarterback coming out of Louisiana. It doesn't look like it all season long, but today he did. Trusting your surroundings, making sure that you don't put the ball in harm's way, not throwing into double coverage, not losing the turnover battle. This is very much what you want to see from Texas. And to me, it comes back to the whole element of, well, you have the 5-star pedigree. Your roster's better than advertised, even with some of the injuries here and there. What's been missing? And I know there's going to be a lot of Texas fans out there that will come and say to me and Chris and countless others that talk about the SEC all the time about, well, you told us that it's fine to play on the road and have a scare. That was what you said. You said you go to Lexington. You say you go to Mississippi State. We're going to have our scares. Give us our credit. I'll give you your credit. Your credit's due. You earned that win. You dominated up until the fourth quarter. Far and away, you had a performance to remember. But that also is not the same offense that we saw the last 2 weeks. It's nowhere near it. There's no standpoint of, oh, you have to sweat some bullets when you go up to Kroger Field, or you got to go down to Starkville. Yeah, that happens in the SEC. Alabama deals with it. Georgia deals with it. Florida, when they were good, dealt with it. LSU, when they were good, dealt with it. It happens. But the problem is that you still see a performance to where the offense has an identity, a spark, a little bit more juice. That wasn't there against Kentucky. No, you got outgained by nearly 200 yards. You had a 26-8 first down differential. That wasn't there until the fourth quarter against Mississippi State. Like, Mississippi State was mollywhopping you for most of that afternoon. And then something clicked at the right time, and you go to overtime, and there's Brandon Walker sitting in the end zone, watching as Emmett Mosley makes a big-time play. I mean, that's the difference in this thing, is that this version of Steve Sarkisian's offense, playing to his strengths, trusting the elements, winning on third down execution, and getting points has not been there all year, and now it is. And that's why Texas is the playoff threat. I know I said those words. Not ready to say that they're going to be in the playoff. Not ready to come close to saying that they won't finish 8-4. You still have to face off against Texas A&M and Georgia. And they come back-to-back weeks. I might also throw that in there. So nothing is set in stone for Texas at this point. They very well could find a way to lose the last 2 games of the season. My bad. You play Georgia, and then you play Arkansas, and then you play Texas A&M. So you could still lose 2 games with a win in the middle of there and go 8-4. You could win 2 games, lose one of them, and still go 9-3. And you're not going to be good enough to go to the college football playoff. So that can happen. But what also could happen is the version of the offense that we saw today that finished with over 400 yards, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, 428. That could be there. The one that doesn't have a lot of self-inflicting wounds. That could be there. The one that's able to play with time of possession, tempo, know its surroundings and its elements on when you got to pick up the speed and knowing when you got to go ahead and just let the ball fly. It's there. And if that shows up in Sanford Stadium, Texas, from a talent standpoint, has all of the potential to win that game. From a talent standpoint, they could easily beat up on Texas A&M. And they're still very much in the hunt for an SEC title. Guys, you got to remind yourself that right now, there's only one conference loss. 2 teams have a conference loss. What would happen if you beat Georgia, and what would happen if you beat Texas A&M and Alabama wins out? Alabama would be 8-0. You'd be 7-1. You'd face off against Alabama, like many of us predicted, down in Atlanta for the SEC title. And at that point, you're locked in for the college football playoff at 10-3. You may not host a playoff game, but you're going. And I'm not ready to rule that out because of the pressure rate that you were able to get on Diego Pavia. 6 sacks on the day, taking away the rushing element, and then your offense being able to counteract everything that you saw. That's a performance worth talking about. And one that when the college football playoff committee looks you up and down and says, is there things that we can see in Texas that are certainly good enough to be in the playoff? Well, they have a loss to a team that is number 1 in the country and has dismantled everybody. And then you also have wins over a top 10 Vanderbilt team, a top 10 Texas A&M team, and a top 10 Georgia team. Yeah, that's probably good enough to put you in the college football playoff. 11 seed, here we go. So Texas has proved to me at this standpoint, if that's the version of the offense we see consistently, it's going to show on out and show on out. Texas earned that win. I'm going to make sure that we repeat that a million times because people on this channel say that I don't talk enough about Texas in a prominent light. Texas earned that win. Found a way to deliver, found a way to get some up-tempo play, found a way to pull away from Vanderbilt all the way up until the very end. And then we got to talk about the very end. Vanderbilt did not have a good game plan from the get-go. They did not. And we're just going to talk about Vanderbilt for a minute. They were definitely out of their element. Diego Pavia, one of the biggest things that makes him such a threat, his mobility. They shut that down for most of the afternoon. The inability to get anything going with Maitland Young and Cedric Alexander. And they said, hey, you want to beat us? You're going to beat us through the year, Diego. That's what's going to happen. You find a way to get an early turnover in the right outside the red zone. Put yourself in a position where now you know for a fact everything is boding in your favor. everything that you want to see is now collapsing, Texas did that. And all the joy and all the gusto and all the things that we saw from the last 2 weeks when you faced off against LSU and you faced off against Mizzou, part of us would have to say, okay, well, maybe, just a little bit, we put the wagon before the horse. Maybe Vanderbilt is a solid team. And Vanderbilt is a solid team. You're not going to hear any negativity from me coming to that standpoint. They're a solid team, but nowhere near the college football playoff hunt. Just a fun little story in college football this year. And then they came back. And we can talk about this for a second. Texas, just going to throw this out here. And I don't really care what you want to say in the comment section. So go ahead and just get out your BS right now. You can face this one of two ways. Either Texas is a really damn good team, and if we play that crappy in the fourth quarter against Texas A&M, Arkansas, and Georgia, we will get our asses beat. Or Vanderbilt is a team of resiliency, and thank God that we built ourselves a lead, and we're able to have a couple of big-time breaks go in our favor to where we win this football game. Because that's the way it goes. You can't have one or the other. Because still Vanderbilt found a way to come back. And Vanderbilt found a way to come back because of they took advantages of those explosive plays. The first touchdown pass to Eli Sowers. Just absolutely bad coverage. You heard Sarkisian after the game talk about it. Just immediately, we got to fix that. We cannot allow ourselves to be in that position where we just leave and Eli Sowers wide on open. Can't do that. And he's right. And then you can't really do that on a 67-yard touchdown to give any momentum in favor of Vanderbilt. Because if Vanderbilt doesn't score on that last drive with that 67-yard strike, they probably don't score. In fact, I will tell you right now, they don't score. That doesn't happen. And at this point, they're finding a way to get the job done. You also got to talk about the 2-point conversion. Now, again, here is why it counted and why it was something that went against what we all saw. Because of the first line judge in the back part of the end zone called it on the field. So when they didn't have inclusive evidence, which I thought personally he wasn't in bounds, I thought for sure he was out of bounds. It shouldn't have counted. But the fact they called it on the field, they gave him the nod. Okay, so that was why that happened. That's why they got the 2-point conversion and they made it a 10-point swing. There were several bad false starts that put Texas out of position to go for it on fourth down, and then certainly then go for it again when they could have just gone for a field goal and they had a punt. So that's the case. That was where we are. So Vanderbilt at this point starts to gain some momentum. You have him in the back of the end zone. You gave up 6 sacks on the day. This was not a good performance on the offensive line whatsoever. And then you allow him to go find a target downfield on a fourth and gotta have moment, and they're able to connect. And then you go ahead and you build a few more repertoire plays to where you go and connect a little bit more, and you connect a little bit more, and you connect a little bit more. And that's where it is. So at this point, now we're watching as Diego Pavia is starting to gain momentum. And the last thing you can afford to do is watch Diego Pavia go ahead and gain momentum. That's just it. You can't have it happen. And lo and behold, here's what happened. You start to see your defense collapse. And Vanderbilt took the advantages, and Diego Pavia, who runs around for his life like a chicken with his head cut off, is eventually able to find an open target at the right moment, and now we got a 34-31 game. That's just it. Richie Hoskins back in the end zone, 8 yards. And then, lo and behold, once again, you watch as Vanderbilt is able to go get the onside recovery, but it hits out of bounds. And once it hits out of bounds, game's over. Arch played one hell of a game. Diego Pavia played one hell of a game. Once you started letting him have momentum, that was a different version of Diego Pavia. And I'm just going to say this for all the people out there that love to go clown on number 2 for being a 25-year-old in college and taking his advantages of being a student athlete. If you think Diego Pavia lost that football game for Vanderbilt, just shut the hell up. You don't know football. You don't. You know what lost that football game for Vanderbilt? The inability to have any consistency on the ground, the inability to be able to strike on third down early, the inability to stop getting in its own way with bad execution on defense. That was why Vanderbilt lost this football game. And also, Texas has the profile to be able to win this football game. So let's also throw that in there because Texas did earn the right to win this football game. But this does not fall on Diego Pavia at all. There is nowhere that they've been able to just go ahead and show that. You throw for 365 yards, you find your way into the end zone. It's not his fault that there are busted plays in Texas's secondary that create second chance opportunities. He had one hell of a day, and ultimately his team came up short, which is why you have multiple performances where, unfortunately, now we're seeing the Vanderbilt fight for its life. But Vanderbilt's not out of the college football playoff. You play with your food too long, guess what? It throws it back in your face. And that's what we saw. That is what we saw. We watched as Vanderbilt was able to fight its way back. Texas wins. Texas wins out. They're in the college football playoff. Vandy wins out. Vandy's in the college football playoff. And Vanderbilt can't win out. They got games against Kentucky, Auburn, and against Tennessee. You tell me that they can't win all three of those games? Potentially. I would say right now the Tennessee game becomes an elimination factor, especially if we're watching as Tennessee and Vanderbilt be both sitting at 9-2 going into that matchup. It's a playoff eliminator, but it can happen. You can't allow a team like Vanderbilt to find any bit of momentum. And so, again, we go right back to the very point of this conversation when it comes to Texas. You Texas fans, which again, no fault. I'm married to a Texas fan. I love Texas as a program. They've been nothing but kind to me. But here's the bottom line. You can either say that your defense allowed far too many explosive plays in the second half. You crumbled on that end, giving Diego Pavia and Vanderbilt opportunities to strike. And if we don't have that type of performance against any other team, we'll be good. But if we do, we're going to lose. You can say that, and that's fine. Or you can say that you fought your way to win, and then eventually Vandy fought its way back, and Vandy nearly came back. But we were the better team, and we won. That's it. You don't get to have both. You don't get to say Vandy's a piece of crap and we're so amazing, and lo and behold, the refs screwed us over. Can't say that. Can't ever say that. You also can't say that you didn't earn your win, and then Vandy just, they're not a good team, and we just, we're just better than them in every single capacity. You can't, because that's how this game went. You had a chance to put them away. You didn't put them away. The good news is you had such a good performance from your offense, didn't even have to worry about your defense today. You were better on third down execution. You were better with the time of possession. You were better at multiple stances when it came to the explosive plays. You were able to go ahead and build a 3-possession lead. You did everything that you want to. You earned a win, in my eyes. But you also allowed that number 19 to fight its way back in to make it a 3-point swing. That's what it is. That was it. We good? All right, let's get to the comment section before we get on out of here. The refs need to be investigated. I'm guessing you're talking about the play on the 2-point conversion. I will say I don't think he was in, personally. I can say right now that he definitely wasn't in. But the problem was that they made the call on the field. So, therefore, they weren't going to be able to overturn it because there was not inconclusive evidence. I thought there was conclusive evidence that he absolutely was out of bounds. Texas just took down the number 9 team in the country. Oh, Gustavo, hi. Welcome to the party, bud. I think that you earned that win. I'm going to say that for like a million times. You earned that win. You should have easily been in the end zone. You should have easily been able to take the win. So that's what it was. Stop acting like this wasn't a win, wasn't a big deal. It's a very big deal. Just said you're in the college football playoff hunt now. You weren't going to be in the college football playoff hunt if you didn't win this game. The PI and the drop TD to Mosley. Yeah, that was bad. That should have been a PI. I mean, I agree with you on that. That's for sure. How about the We Are Back University? I haven't seen the end of that game. Can somebody just tell me what happened? Because I got to go back and watch it. Vandy not beating Auburn D will destroy that. It could. Don't let the final quarter convince you that was a convincing victory for Texas. Yeah, it was. All the way up until the fourth quarter, say, man, that was a convincing win. That was a dog walk. That was a bludgeoning. Vandy found a way to come back. And that's because Texas had allowed far too many explosive plays. And you watch as Diego Pavia starts to get himself. But still, they were able to come back. You just contradict yourself. You said Texas earned that win, left Candy back in it right after you said Texas fans can't say that. No, I said you can't say that if you let Vanderbilt back in, that Vandy's a bad team. Because either Vandy's a bad team and you let them back in, or you earned that win over the number 9 team in the country that still found a way to respond. That's what I'm saying, Dalen, is that it can't be one or the other. You can't say that you were so much better than them and that they weren't able to be on the same field as you, or that you were so good and Vandy was also good and you were better and you were able to get the job done. That's what I'm saying. Because your defense looks like that against Texas A&M, you're going to lose. Your defense looks like that against Georgia, you're going to lose, especially in the fourth quarter. Shout out to you, Cole. You're great, brother. Appreciate you saying, man. Wins against number 6 and number 9 OU. Vandy is crazy. I'll tell you what, it outweighs your loss. It does. The Florida loss, nobody's going to care about that. And if if Ohio State goes to be number 1, 7-point loss on the road, week 1, non-conference game, not going to matter. Like Texas very well, you guys got to remind yourself, can be in the SEC championship game. If they beat Arkansas, if they beat Georgia, and they beat Texas A&M, they're in. Because they'd only have one conference loss. They'd be 10-2, and they'd have a head-to-head win over A&M, which would then take them out, and they would have a head-to-head win over Georgia, which would take them out, and Georgia would also have 2 conference losses. So even if they were 10-2, Georgia wouldn't be able to go. And the way Texas offense looked today, especially in the first half and the second and third quarter most specifically, that, my friends, is what you're going to see from Texas. They're going to be able to put themselves in a position to where I don't think anybody wants to play them. Like, if that version shows up at Sanford Stadium, Texas is going to win that football game if your defense can be fixed on the back end. And I get it. Didn't have Mookie Taft. You lost Jelani McDonald. That's one of those things that you consistently say. So that's fine. Dude, you're one of those people who's just going to keep praying Texas loses every week. I pick Texas in every game besides this one in Red River. I don't hate Texas at all. Don't understand where that one comes from every single time. Just left DKR. Texas rushers were based in the backfield all day. They kicked the ass of every single Vanderbilt offensive lineman. Colin Simmons, Anthony Hill, Ethan Burke, what you saw on the defensive line, they destroyed Vanderbilt's offensive front. Vanderbilt had given, look, this is explain to you guys how big of a deal this game was for for Texas defensive line. Vanderbilt had given up 11 sacks the total year. They've never given up more than 3 with Diego Pavia at quarterback. They doubled that with still some time to spare. They dominated Vanderbilt's front 5. That was a big-time deal. Something that needed to happen to win this football game. Lol, this guy, the Vandy apologist for Vandy. No, I'm saying that Texas earned that win. I'm saying that Vanderbilt found a way to respond. That's what I'm saying. Cole, Sooners, or Vols. I think that Sooners are going to find a way to lose this game. I do. I think that Tennessee wins. I think that Tennessee wins by at least 10. I think that it's going to be a close fourth quarter close until the fourth quarter. But Tennessee finds a way to pull that out. Hoping Mizzou can beat A&M at home. Going to be interesting. I'm really intrigued because of the backup quarterback theory that I know that multiple people, Josh Pate talks about all the time. It's on display, and I still think that a loss is coming for Texas A&M. They will not be undefeated in the season. It does feel like Texas is the team that if that's the version of the offense we see where they can run the football efficiently, quarterback design keepers, you get guys like Ryan Wingo and Parker Livingston, and you also get Emmett Mosley mixed into the game as well. Like that ends up being a big time factor. They can easily take down Texas A&M if they play that way. That's it. You can't struggle against inferior opponents and act like you should be singing Texas praises. No, you shouldn't. Army, you're acting like Texas didn't beat number 6 Vandy. Number 9? What's your point? Look, guys, we're not going to get in arguments here. Here's what we're going to say. Texas earned that win. I mean, that's all you can say at this standpoint, guys. I don't know what else you want to keep going into. Texas came on out swinging. They had over 160 yards more offense than Vanderbilt going into the final 15 minutes. You can't really say anything negative about Arch in this game. Like, it was really interesting to see for the first time all year it be quiet on social media surrounding Arch Manning. Like most days, we talk about how we got to turn him back to Codwell and that, we got to get rid of the play call. Nope. You throw for 300 yards, you're able to still rush it. You're able to keep some drives alive. You're still great at 7 and 13 on third down. You're still able to have 9.9 yards a pass. I mean, I'm sorry. That's very much on Arch, like having a great, damn good day. They earned that win. But Vandy found a way to respond in the last second. That was it. Arch was apparently terrible. He really wasn't. Just finally has found his rhythm and his identity. Since 2023, Mizzou has only lost 2 games at home. We have a chance. Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to doubt Mizzou. I think that will be a really interesting game, but I'm not entirely sold on it. Get your questions, comments in before we get on out of here. Taft, Daddy, we need you back versus Georgia. You do. I think that you need everyone back defensively for Georgia. That's just my standpoint of it. Every opportunity that you can to have a bye week to keep yourself very much in time to get healthy before you travel down to Athens, you need. But the good news is that you have the bye week coming at the right time. Get everybody healthy, continue to build this momentum, use this as motivation to go back and watch the film and figure out what the hell were we doing in the secondary in the second half to allow Vanderbilt to make this a game. Because again, it really wasn't all the way up until the fourth quarter. Like they literally had this thing locked on up. 3 scores. Easy game, easy performance. And then they did it. We're going to close out the stream because I want to watch the rest of the Vandy game. By the way, can somebody tell me what happened in the Miami game? Did Miami find up losing in overtime? What was it? What happened in that one? Regardless, we're going to end the stream in 5 seconds. But before we do, make sure that you go ahead and get your bets in. Because I'll tell you what, you look currently, Texas is going to be a player in the college football playoff hunt. They come out on Friday. I mean, Tuesday. You know that, right? The playoff rankings come out on Tuesday. And so we're going to see where Texas is in the pecking order. And we're going to also see where Vanderbilt's in the pecking order. And you can go ahead and make your bets on who you think has a better shot at going to the college football playoff, because I think both do, by going on over to FanDuel.com/SECU. Here's the bottom line. I want to win you guys some money. I want you guys to have a successful month of November, and that includes bolstering up your bank accounts. And I think that both Texas and Vanderbilt going into, and I'll be bold and say this right now, I think that if this is the version of Texas's offense that we see for the rest of the year, we'll be sitting with 2 losses going into the Friday night game in Austin against Texas A&M. And I don't think that Vanderbilt's going to lose to Kentucky or Auburn. Therefore, both will very much be in the college football playoff hunt. So I might go on over to FanDuel.com/SECU, and I might throw down $5 on Texas to win out and go 10-2. I'm definitely going to throw some money down potentially on Vanderbilt to win on out and go 10-2. And when I do that, if I win that bet, I'm going to get $300 in bonus bets. I want you to get $300 in bonus bets by signing on up today at FanDuel.com/SECU. When you get started, $300 in bonus bets, winning your first $5 bet. You can make some same-day parlays, countless other micro bets, whatever tickles your fancy, player props, anything on display. With the NCAA basketball season underway, with the NBA season underway, with the NHL season underway, and of course, with college football entering the final month of the regular season, there's no place and no better time to sign up today at FanDuel.com/SECU. Texas, you deserve to win because you found a way to be able to mollywop Vanderbilt in the first half. Vanderbilt, credit for you not putting yourself down and finding a way to fight on back. It was a good game. Texas had the better one. And Texas ultimately found a way to stay alive in the college football playoff hunt. But Vanderbilt's not done either. We'll be back after the Florida-Georgia game, where we'll start for a cocktail party. Until then, guys, I'm Cole Thompson. Have a good rest of your Saturday. Peace.